Well, welcome back to the post show. I am Keith, and thank you so much. I see, let's go here, chat on the air. Freddie, thank you for joining me. TVJ, thank you for joining me. It is great to have you guys on here. Again, one of the things I want to do with the post show, welcome you guys, anybody else that might be looking tonight. If you're not subscribed, you need to subscribe to chat. You're welcome to hang out with us. It's great to have you. I see David's here tonight. Thank you, David, for joining me. What I really want to do in the post show is kind of be more personal in my world. The live show is going to be about a lot of tech, not that it's just going to stay there, because my live show is things that I'm doing. So I do want to expose some of the things that I'm doing here as far as live streaming. I know lots of interest in that area. I got a chance to mess around with the cinema camera today, the Pocket 6K Pro, not today, but yesterday, and brought that video footage. So go check out the live stream tonight where I showed a behind the scenes rig being built at a local venue here, and I got the privilege to be in there. In the post show tonight, we're going to talk about the HyperDeck. So if you're just joining me, it's good to see, stop and think here as well. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate having you guys. We are going to have an appearance with Rudy, going to tell a little story here about my ventriloquist puppets, and literally considering still maybe having a playlist here on the channel or a kids channel. Haven't decided yet, but I do have an idea. Ordered something today for next week's post show, so hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys more about that in the live stream next week. I have to wait to see if I can pull this off. But again, those of you who don't know, there's some weird things about me over the years. One of those is that when I was younger, I was just fascinated with ventriloquism. And actually, Freddie, let me know everything's okay tonight in the chat if you would. But if the video and all that's going good. So I just had this fascination with ventriloquism. And back in those days, you could subscribe to a magazine. It was by Mayor, they were kind of the hub for ventriloquists. They did a conference every year, and I never got to go. Middle-class family. It was clear across the United States from where we lived, so I never got to go to the conference, but I would read the magazine when it came back. Thank you, Freddie. Freddie says that the video and everything is okay, so thank you, sir. And one day we'll get your picture on the screen. So again, I didn't get a chance to go, but I decided I wanted to dive into ventriloquism. So I decided to buy a little Danny O'Day Sears catalog dummy, and all it had was a string out of the back, and it came with an album on ventriloquism. I'm still looking for I actually have it somewhere. I stashed it somewhere safe and haven't found it. So I know it's in here or in the house somewhere. I'll find that and I'll show that to you. And I actually got an autograph. I wrote the guy who had inspired me, and he sent me a autographed picture and a special note, which was really cool. And that's tucked inside that album sleeve. And it's actually a record album. And that's where I learned how to do ventriloquism. Obviously, had to have a puppet, had to have the lessons, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later here in the post shows, not tonight, but we'll be talking about that. So, and then an opportunity came up for me to go back east. And so I was going to go there and be a graphic artist. One of the things that I love to do, it's why I bought the Wacom tablet. My first priority was to start drawing again. And I started, I have unboxed Boba Fett. And so I started drawing Boba Fett's helmet, and after I get that to a condition where I actually want to share it, I will share that with you. And I'm drawing on my Wacom tablet, which is what it's designed to do. But because it's a monitor, you can actually use it to write on the screen, which I don't really do a lot of that. So it's a Wacom One Tablet. They sell for under $500, and it plugs in as a monitor, and I can use it for the chat, and that's what I'm using tonight to monitor the chat. So if I just switch camera angles to my Canon, then you can see that it's kind of crazy because I'm chat on the air, so it just pops up because it's replacing the chat. But if I cut to the camera now, then you can see that I got my Wacom tablet here and I can monitor the chat. And with Aaron Precky's pop out, here is the chat overlay link. That's what you copy. And then you paste that into OBS's web page, and then you full screen that web page into your ATEM, or like we talked about last time, you can use some other way of putting the chat on the screen. But this is Aaron Parecki's plugin. I have the chat popped out of my YouTube video page, and I can drop it onto my tablet, so it's right here in front of the monitor, because the camera is literally right there, just right of this spot right here. So now I don't have to look over here at my laptop to see the chat, and I can just tap with my pen, which is great for just bringing chat up on the screen because it's very accurate. And I'll quit talking to with my hands. You guys are looking at my desk. So back to having chat on the screen here. And so that's a cool tool. And so my journey with art got me to go to Toledo, Ohio. I jumped on a bus, went clear across the continental United States from Washington. And I'll never forget that bus trip. I met some guy there that was leaving to go into the Marine Corps. He was going over there to boot camp. So we had this long journey together. I think he got on the bus somewhere between here and Salt Lake City. And then we rode like the next 2 days. It was a 3.5 day bus ride for me, and him and I were on that bus. And you sleep on the bus. They stop at restaurants and rest areas. So it was a long, long ride. And I remember when I got to Toledo, Ohio, it was during kind of a downturn in the United States. I was 19 at the time. I'm 61 now. You do the math. A lot of the graphic design work was in and around the auto industry back in Ohio, and it was kind of a downward depressive time. And so all these guys loved my portfolio, but they wouldn't give me a job. They said, hey, after things change, we would love you to come back. We would love to have you a part of our team. We just can't hire right now. So I got all of these no's, affirmation that they liked my work. And, but again, no work. So I had already been playing around when I was in Toledo, Ohio, house sitting. And I actually lived for a while in Pennsylvania, not too many hours away from Toledo, Ohio. As I was sitting in this house area, I had a place to live. They put some food in the refrigerator for me, no money coming in, just what I took with me to Toledo, Ohio. I'm a young man, I'm by myself, house sitting in this house. The couple that lived in that house were friends with my parents, and they were overseas working in another location. So their house needed someone to sit. So they invited me to sit in the house. And so they had a sewing machine. I asked permission to use it, and I started making puppets. I bought a hand puppet, a flower puppet, but I wanted that puppet to be in a pot. And so I took a pot, cut a hole in the back, made a cardboard piece that would fit in the top of that pot. Then I covered it with fabric. I sewed the puppet onto that piece of cloth, cut a hole through it. I could put my hand through there, named that puppet Rudy, and then I sewed a bear called Benjamin C. Bear, which I've talked about before. He'll make an appearance here pretty soon here on the channel. Got him out of mothball bags today, and to see if he was in any kind of condition to show you. And these puppets now, think about the math. I'm 61 now. Rudy and Grandpa Jones, my original Grandpa Jones, I've replaced him now with a newer puppet because I wore him out. And then Benjamin C. Bear, they've been around since I was like 19 years old, right? Crazy to think. I think I was 18 actually when I went back to Toledo, Ohio. So I actually ended up running into someone who said, hey, you're a ventriloquist. We'll put your name out there in our periodical magazine. And that magazine went out to a number of venues that do work with children. And all of a sudden, these doors started opening up for me to go and do live ventriloquism. And so I wrote some routines. I had been practicing. I sewed Benjamin together. I put Rudy together. So half of it was a pot that I made. And then Grandpa Jones was ordered in a catalog. So I had Grandpa Jones, I had Rudy, which isn't a rhododendron, but that's what I called him, Rudy the rhododendron. And then I got flashing going on behind me. What is happening back here? Oh, I've lost power to my key light. So let me turn this off. evidently I lost power to my Elgato key light mini. So that's what was flashing above me. So I don't have a hair light now, so you guys will have to live with that. So again, I'm telling you that story, guys, just so you can get some background of where those puppets came from. So they have been pretty well in storage all these years. I did some children's ministry after that trip to Toledo. I ended up coming home. While I was there, after I already negotiated with my parents to trade my stereo system and some things I had here for a plane ticket, which they gave me that stuff back, but I wanted to feel like I was buying my plane ticket home. I headed home, but before I got home, I had a live TV show that I got invited to do. I wish I had footage. And they liked what I did so much that they offered me a job at their TV station to run their children's program. No negotiation, no idea what it would pay, but I did enough ventriloquism for them that they were impressed with just me and all that stuff. And you do pre-interviews, and I have to show them the puppets, and then they let me go live on their TV show. And so I was already committed to come home, so I turned that job down. But from that point on, in my early years, I worked with kids, and occasionally I would bring my puppets out. I did some speaking. I've done some high school assemblies when I was older to high schoolers. So being around students and children and using the tools, the puppet being a tool, just like a van's a tool to get a bunch of people together and go for a ride. The puppets were a way to communicate. And so that's where the puppets came from. So, got to say this. So, TVJ says, I live and work in Toledo, Ohio. So that's so funny. That's such a great, I can't remember. It was I think at the time it was like a local religious broadcasting network, I think is what it was, affiliated with some of the Methodist churches that I got invited to. It's just the way it turned out. I had visited a Methodist church because of a girlfriend. One of the speakers that night was a guy in charge of that whole region. And I do not remember that TV station, if it still exists, but it was a part of the religious broadcasting or Christian broadcasting. I'm not sure at the time, but I was able to do one of my routines or three of my routines that I wrote. I condensed them, had 3 puppets, I think, on that live stream, both Grandpa Jones, Benjamin C. Bear, as well as Rudy the Rhododendron. So great to know that, TVJ, Toledo, Ohio. So let me get Rudy out here. Now, because this is my post show and because you guys decided to attend, I want to give you guys kind of a behind the scenes look at the puppet. So Rudy actually was just this piece right here. And just so you know how long he's been in storage, something ate through him. Let me put this where you guys can see it. See that hole right there? Something actually has eaten through Rudy. There was nothing in it. I looked really carefully. I looked in the pot. So this is a plastic pot that I bought, I think, at the Kmart. And I cut out the back. And then again, I made the leaves out of wire. And I know this is going to spoil it for you, but trust me, he'll still come alive. And then this part I just ordered through a catalog. I looked for another version of him today. I couldn't find one, but I loved it. I bought it. So that was the puppet part. The base I made out of cardboard and sewed the leaves into that, sewed Rudy into that. And then there's a hole in the bottom part of Rudy comes right there, and I can slip my arm up through him. And that's Rudy the Rhododendron. And I've done hours and hours of routine with this little guy. And I just love his character. You know, it'd be great if Rudy would actually come out and spend some time, you know, because he's been in the bag and in the case for years. And what? Oh, man, I didn't see you there. How did you do that?
Yes, you did. You saw me.
No, I didn't. Did I see you? Yeah, I have to confess, Rudy, I did see you. Do you remember those kids shows that we did a long time ago?
Yeah.
What was that?
It's my old voice.
Well, you don't get old. You're the same age now, but you do have some issues here.
Yeah, I got air conditioning.
You have air conditioning? Yeah, I noticed my arm's a lot cooler now.
Your arm?
Yeah, my arm goes up. Never mind.
What?
No, never mind. It doesn't matter. So anyway, Rudy, how have you been? It's been a long, long time since we talked.
Yeah, you used to get me out with the grandkids.
Yeah, I used to get you out with the grandkids, but part of the damage that you have is they would grab you and maul you and hug you, which was totally cool. Did you enjoy that?
describe or explain or define enjoy.
Define enjoy.
Yeah, define enjoy.
Enjoy would be like, you get warm fuzzies when they hug you.
Oh, that's not what I got.
Oh, what did you get?
I got mauled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I already said that. So anyway, Rudy, it's nice for you to join us tonight. I feel kind of foolish talking to a flower.
Why is that?
Because I don't know how people are going to receive it.
What does that mean?
I mean, people out in the world don't normally see people talking to a flower.
Why?
Well, because normally flowers don't talk.
They don't?
No, flowers don't talk, Rudy.
Oh, well, I can talk and I can sing.
You're not going to sing tonight, are you?
No, I'm not prepared.
In fact, you didn't even want to show up tonight.
Yeah, I know, I said that.
Well, then why did you show up?
Well, I was curious of what you're doing.
I'm live streaming here on my post show.
Your what?
My post show. My post show comes after the pre-show, which is my live show.
What?
My post show comes after my pre-show, which is my live show. And then the post show is right after it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to do, let alone why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I wanted to share people like ventriloquism. I wanted to share you with them.
Okay. Are you going to give me away?
No, I'm not going to give you away. I'm sharing you.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that I'm letting you come on my live show.
You're letting me?
Yeah, I'm letting you.
You almost drugged me in here. You got me out of the case and oh, sorry.
You were told to behave.
I know. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Rudy, I need to say goodbye because I got to get on with the show.
What do you mean? I am the show tonight.
What do you mean you're the show tonight?
Well, I saw my picture.
Yeah, your picture was in the still image.
It was the biggest shot.
Yeah, it was the biggest shot.
I'm the focus.
Well, no, you're not the focus. It's the post show. And we're going to talk about the HyperDeck.
The hyper what?
The HyperDeck. They're like those kids that used to hug you when they were younger.
Oh, yeah, I get that. HyperDeck.
So anyway, we're going to talk about that, things I like and things I don't like and things I'd like to see it change.
Okay, well, that sounds boring, so I'm going to go. Goodbye.
So that's Rusty. I haven't had Rudy out in forever. His voice is one of the easiest ones for me to do. If you enjoyed that, say something in the chat. If you think I'm crazy because I'm talking to a flower, you can say that in the chat too if you want. Jay, thanks for showing up. I don't know, JJ, if I've seen you before, but thank you. Hi. I say hi back. One of the things I love about live and the post show is I get to share a little bit of my personal world. I've already talked about Boba Fett, that I'm drawing him right now. This is the first thing I decided to draw after years of not doing any drawing. Again, I've been learning other things like live streaming and video production, photography and audio engineering, lots of things, content for social media, lots of things to learn. I just haven't been spending much time doing ventriloquism or drawing, but that's a fun thing for me to do. And one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight before we get to the HyperDeck, which we're going to do before quarter till, is to say this. Having something that recharges your batteries, my wife and I have just had this conversation, that when you're busy doing the work for your job or your business or whatever it is, school, if you're retired and you have those projects around the house, it's really important to have something that'll recharge your batteries. And so one of the things that recharges my batteries is drawing, and I just haven't done it in many, many, many years. So, okay. So also I see LT or L Tocolin, probably your name. So thanks for joining me tonight. Freddie says, that's very cool. Kevin Crawley says, funny stuff, all ad-lib, none of that was planned. I did have some ideas of where I could go, but when I look at Rudy's face, I get inspired. So, and then I got a bravo. Thank you. Is that like applause and everything? I am super rusty, and I apologize for that. And then I got this. There's both great and crazy, laugh out loud. If I made you smile, then I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish tonight. You know what? I'm a firm believer. I was telling Shannon this. Not only do we need to recharge our tanks, we need to laugh again. In fact, one of the things I said to my wife, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not, those of you that are new, but we just suffered the loss of Shannon's father-in-law. And so Saturday we had the big memorial service. I had the luxury of putting together a slide presentation and some video footage from around the family, things I took with my phone, pictures some of the family members sit. And I sat here and added music to it, a track that one of my good friends gave to me as a gift, and I hadn't used that track yet. Beautiful piano piece. So I laid that over the music. or the music over the video. And I sat here with tears running down my eyes. And one of the things I said to my wife is, you know, we haven't laughed as much since this time this season. And obviously, when you suffer a loss or you go through disappointment, and I shared with a friend of mine for breakfast today that disappointment, the best way I understand disappointment is when you had an appointment or an expectation and it doesn't happen. You're disappointed. So if I had an appointment with you and we were going to go have coffee and I was looking forward to seeing you, and we were going to hang out maybe for the first time face to face in Toledo, Ohio, or down with Freddie in Venezuela, or wherever it is, after all of this time not seeing each other, you see me, but I don't get to see you. And if I had made an appointment or a Zoom call, or something like that, and then and I'm excited about it, it doesn't happen, I don't get the appointment, and it's disappointment. I love that definition. So what heals your heart? What gets you to bounce back? It's got to be things that you're passionate about. So I just could not handle Boba Fett in the box anymore. Even though they say leave it in the box, it's worth more. I needed to get him out. I started making a drawing. That's going to help recharge my batteries. Getting Rudy out made me smile today. And there's huge repair that's going to happen with him if I'm going to get him out. And I have a new granddaughter. I want to share that part of me with them, and I want to see them smile and laugh. And so if you laughed and you smiled having tonight Rudy being my co-host, he's a lot more interesting than me, and you never know what Rudy is going to say. You just don't know. So it's pronounced LTAK. Allen is the pronunciation of my handle. So LTAK Allen, good to have you. Thanks for bringing me up to speed with that pronunciation. And that's one of the challenges, that you know how to say it, but some of you I have to have help to know how to say it right. So let's shift gears into the HyperDeck. Thank you so much for allowing me to make myself smile, make you smile. I am honored as usual, and that anyone would be on with me live in general. And again, thank you so much. Subscribing, what it does is it lets other people know about the channel. Maybe someone else is going to be out there that may need to smile. They may need to know about if they should get a HyperDeck or not. Maybe they're just curious about some of the other things that they see here on my channel, and that's perfectly fine. I would love to have them pop in. And as you guys like, subscribe, and share the videos that you like, just share the ones you like, or don't share them at all. If you like them, hit the like button, or hit the thumbs down. If you don't like Ventriloquist, then hit the thumbs down. Again, I'm just trying to entertain and engage you and show you some of the personal world about me. This is my business. I'm here all the time. I live stream from here every Tuesdays. And so it's nice sometimes to bring in a Batman book and just read some comics, or watch a video, watch a movie on the big screen TV, which is timed out tonight, and just enjoy myself, draw in here. And this is kind of my private space as well as my office. So I am just trying to encourage people to reboot, recharge your batteries, and to smile and find the silver lining. And that's what I text one of my son-in-laws, or my son-in-law today. I only have one daughter and one son-in-law. I text him today, there's going to be a silver lining in the midst of this thing he texted me today. And he says, I hope so. Well, I believe that there is a silver lining in the midst of this. And for me tonight, knowing that you guys laughed and thought that was funny, that is just one aspect of silver lining for me tonight. So, okay. So I wrote down 5 things about the HyperDeck. And the more I think about the HyperDecks and the journey that I've been on with them, the more I realize that people kind of know me for the HyperDecks. Hopefully they'll know me for more than just the HyperDeck. They'll know me for other things as well. But in the midst of knowing me for HyperDecks, I wanted to share 5 things. Some of them are semi-positive or positive. Some of them might be construed as a negative, but I just want to be honest about them. I have a HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, which was a new deck designed by Blackmagic Design and released last summer. So it's been out now for what, 6 months or so. People started getting them in probably mid to late summer, and I've been using now the Studio HD, the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. It has some new features, and I just wanted to talk about that HyperDeck, as well as my old HyperDeck Studio Mini, because it's the smaller of the two, and there's been some changes. The first thing I want to point out is that even though they have the technology, and this is kind of a critique, they have the technology to switch like from camera 1 in a HyperDeck on an ATEM Mini to camera 2, and it's flawless, right? So if I was to cut to camera 2 right now, or camera 1, the light's not right, but it's flawless. It's just instantaneous. I have a dissolve set, but I could change that dissolve from 0.5 and go a slower dissolve. There's a 1 second dissolve. Here's a 1.5, and all that's available on top of the ATEM Mini, Mini Pro ISO, as well as the Extreme ISO, back to 0.5 seconds. But there's no big glitch. But if I change from record mode to play mode in a HyperDeck, even the newer HyperDecks, it takes a while. And that's an issue with me, because I believe, like for instant replay or other things, like if I wanted to record real quick from my HyperDeck and I had an input and then switch back to play a video, I think it should be a lot more seamless and a lot more flawless. And I know that that was probably technology that was available to Blackmagic Design, but they didn't think it was necessary. And I do think it's necessary. I think if they do any updates in the HyperDecks, switching from record mode to play mode should be instantaneous. That signal from that camera right now is available all the time into my HyperDeck. And so if I switch to record, it should be instantaneous. And when I switch back to play mode, it should be like at least 0.5 of a second, half a second. Give me that, Blackmagic Design. So I love the new features on the HyperDeck HD Plus. There's so much about it, which I'm going to talk about now, that I like. But one thing I wish I really, really had in this device is that ability just to switch really quick. Because now with Mix Effects, Adam Tao's done some great work. He took some of my input and he's got some features in Mix Effects that lets you do some things in the HyperDecks that you couldn't do before. But you still have to switch between play mode and record mode. And in Mix Effects or on the deck, the way you do it is if you push record once, if you're in play mode, it switches over to record mode, which then brings up the image, right? Whatever you have coming in the input. But if you're just going to play, you got to hit play again, and it switches back to play mode, which is kind of confusing, because if you push record, you would think it would record, and it would if I was already in record mode. I think those are things that Blackmagic Design can work on and make people like me, who are a big fan of the HyperDeck, and I am, make it a little bit easier for me. That would be great. I'm not sure what this really means, TVJ. I really wish Blackmagic Design would build a replay device. You mean, okay, yeah, instant replay device. Yeah, and so there is some software that you can get. I do have a free version of it. I haven't downloaded it yet. It's called Hyper Slow, I think. Yeah, so it's slow-mo replay. And if you have 3 HyperDecks, you can do multiple clips. And it's pretty seamless, even though it's not traditionally like some of the higher-end replay devices. So I appreciate that. And so obviously, yeah, it forces you down a different path, because he built, TVJ says, I built a whole production truck based off of vMix because of the built-in replay functions. And again, obviously, there's some advantages with software over hardware. The advantage of hardware, and you know this, is that it's a little bit more reliable, not relying on vMix in a PC or a Macintosh. Because again, the danger is PCs and Macintoshes have been designed to have multiple apps open at the same time. All of those apps that are open that build on them, on each other, and take some of the CPU ability. And so if you owned Pro Tools back in the day and you had a Macintosh, Pro Tools actually gave you a whole bunch of instructions of what to turn off if you were going to record multiple tracks in Pro Tools. And we think just because PCs are so much faster now that you're not going to have glitches. In my experience, especially in recent months with venues that are using OBS, again, I only have one friend that's using vMix. Now I have another friend here, TVJ, that's doing vMix. Very familiar with vMix, even though I don't own it and I don't use it. I do know what vMix is all about. Great tool. Again, the nice thing about hardware is, like a Web Presenter HD, it's just encoding and it's streaming, and you can change the quality of the stream, and that's what it does, and it's dedicated to that. So the chances anything glitching, unless you lose your signal, which is through the Ethernet port, or you lose power to the device, or it burns up because it overheats, you know, it's pretty reliable. Again, even those devices can glitch and have issues. So either way, I understand. I hope Blackmagic Design will add in some kind of replay feature. It really is based on supply and demand, and you can see where they put their money in all the new ATEM switchers that they've made, and I'm sure that that's really helped them. Pocket cinema cameras, the new cameras they've come out with. So number 2, codec issues. This should be the number 1. If there's a top 10 reasons why people get frustrated with a HyperDeck, it's codec reasons. What does that mean? Codecs that you record in, there's multiple choices. Codecs that you replay in or you play back in. And what I've experienced that if you don't render all your files in the same format, which means if you're going to live stream 1080p, 29.97 frames per second, then you need to render all your files in ProRes at that frame rate, at that size, and then your HyperDeck will read all those files. Well, the new HyperDeck, if you change the codec in it, like I was doing some recording in my HyperDeck and I changed the codec, and all of a sudden tonight I was getting ready and it took me an extra 20 minutes to figure out what was going on. I'd already decided to do this HyperDeck talk, but here I had an issue with the codec, and it dawned on me, oh, I changed the codec. So I went into the menu system of my HyperDeck Studio HD+. I changed the codec back to ProRes HQ, which is a high quality ProRes. There's also ProRes Lite. There's also ProRes, I forget the new version, which is a lot smaller codec. And when you compare all the ProRes codecs and the size of the files compared to like H.264, which is what YouTube uses right now. This is H.264 you're watching, because that's what YouTube renders everything at. So I stream at H.264 from my ATEM Extreme ISO. And I then, I'm broadcasting, and my encoder in my ATEM Extreme ISO is broadcasting in H.264. In fact, that's what the ATEMs do. So the codecs are an issue, because if you don't know this, or if you're trying to render something from DaVinci Resolve, and here's something I learned about DaVinci Resolve, what great software. You could even get a free version, edit from it, but it doesn't, if you own a PC and you download the PC version, it does not come with any ProRes codecs. I have yet to find a codec. Someone said from Blackmagic Design that I could try the DNX codec, which I never use, but it's available. I was able to get a file to play back a video full screen, but I still not been able to render a animated graphic with a built-in key or a built-in pre-multiplied key, which this is what this is. This is running from my HyperDeck. The subscribe menu is pre-multiplied. There's 2 channels coming through my HyperDeck to my ATEM. That is playing in channel set 5 and 6 at the same time. So 5 is what you see on the screen. 6 is keying out the background. So what you don't get to see, it's giving me a nice clean image. I will play that again. It times out after a few seconds. And there you go again. So that looks crisp and on the screen because of what a HyperDeck can do. And most people will watch my videos, learn about the HyperDecks, and they'll get a HyperDeck because they want to be able to do that. But you have to be able to render a pre-multiplied graphic. So when you build something in Adobe After Effects or whatever software you're doing, and you want to render it with an alpha channel and a key channel, or a pre-multiplied channel, which just means that you're going to have a fill and key channel pre-multiplied together. But when you send it out to your software, to your HyperDeck is splitting that signal out because it sees that it has a key channel. And when it doesn't see that, it just sends video to SDI out A, and it sends video out to SDI B. But when there is a pre-multiplied key inside that video, the HyperDeck sees that, acknowledges that, and it splits it and sends them out. And then I can turn on pre-multiplied key inside my software. And again, guys, if you're not familiar with the software for ATEM's control software, I'll bring this up on the screen and move that over. Let's just close that. And let me bring this up on the screen, me and my desktop. And so if I'm going to do pre-multiplied key, then I'm going to come into my keys, and you can see I have 4 upstream keys right here and 2 downstream keys. If you had a ATEM Mini Pro, ATEM Mini Pro ISO, right, those three look quite a bit, but the Pro and the ISO has more buttons because they will record to a USB drive. They'll also send web camera out, just like the ATEM Mini, but they also encode. So there's more buttons to turn it on and record on and off. And so, but they only have one upstream key. So they have one of these, just key number one, and they only have one downstream keys, and downstream keys are after the transitions or downstream, and upstream keys are upstream of the transition, and they go on and off with the channel. So if I want this key to go on and off with camera one, I'll turn it on right now. And so if I switch over to another camera, and right now I'm on super source, that's my source. So now this key is going to go off because I tied it to this key. So if I switch back right now, let's go ahead and do that. I'm on camera one. So there I am. And you can see the graphic went off the screen. Now, if I go back, it's off. So now I can set up camera two, which is what I normally use. And now it's still not going to go to camera two. So I'm going to hit auto transition again. This key is going to go off the air. Even though I have it on the air, it knows that it's supposed to follow this camera. So now I'm going to go from super source, which is live, to camera two, which is my main camera, and watch my logo on the screen below me because I'm setting it to follow super source. So super source isn't on, so the logo isn't on. Super source is on, so the logo's on. If I turn this off, I've turned it off now. Now it's going to stay on all the time. So let me change from super source input or source to preview, which is now going to become the source. I'm going to hit auto, and now my logo is on the screen, and that's how you turn on a key. Well, one more step that we need to talk about is when you go in the keys, you have this choice right here in the keys. Let me go to a key out of super source. Key number one, I can turn pre-multiplied on or off. So even when I put chat on the screen, I need to make some adjustments to make sure that the chat is transparent and it's doing what it's supposed to do. And chat is in key number 4. So if I turn this key on right now and I tap this chat, you can see it popped up on the screen. And now if I go into key number 4, it's not pre-multiplied. Again, because I'm only sending one desktop to the screen, then I have to adjust the settings right here. And you can see what happens when I slide the clip, and I usually leave this at 9.5, and I'll just hit my button here to get it back. And then if I adjust this one, it's changing the black background, and I need to have it nice and crisp to make sure that I'm not cutting down the black color on my channel. And so then I can go chat off air, and if I pop it back on the air, then those settings are automatically restored because my macro is also got the settings to my live stream. So that's how you switch back and forth. And if I have macros designed, they'll just hard switch. But if I want a nice soft transition, then I have to use the auto transition, or I have to program a transition in my macros. So again, only sharing that to say that one of the frustrations that I have is the codecs, and I get more questions about that than any other questions. And so let's move on to number 3. And that is a plus. I love the fact that the new HyperDeck has, and that's not the new mini one. The mini one does not even have a key channel, which we'll talk about here in a minute. That's called the HyperDeck Studio HD. So be careful if you buy the new and best thing. If you buy an HD, it does not have a key channel, so it will not do the graphics like I'm talking about and have that second channel. You can get that channel coming from a PC or a Mac using a DeckLink card in your PC. If you have a laptop and you have Thunderbolt out, you can get other devices to broadcast through Thunderbolt and then through a Blackmagic device, and then out of that device, it has an SDI A and B that goes into your ATEM. So my frustration is not the new features. I love the little speaker on the front of the HD Plus. I love the fact that it has wider knobs and a bigger space. It's a little bit wider. And I love the fact that the buttons have been rearranged. So not only do you have audio that can play in a little speaker, you also have a headphone jack. I don't have headphones plugged into it right now. These are plugged into my Extreme ISO. Again, the new Extreme and Extreme ISO have a headphone input. And I love to be able to just plug in headphones if I want to hear what's playing in the video from my HyperDeck. And you can't do that in the old HyperDeck Studio Mini because it didn't have a headphone output. So the new buttons, the ability to push the button and hear the speaker, or raise and lower the headphone audio. So if you have headphones plugged in, it bypasses the speaker. If you unplug the headphones, then you can actually play a video and get audio out of the little teeny tiny speaker. And there's one little tiny slit on the front of my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus that audio comes out. So I love those features. Number 4, the fact that that new HyperDeck HD does not have a key channel. In fact, if you look at the back of the old HyperDeck Studio Mini, and maybe we'll do that in one of the post shows, and compare it to the new HyperDeck Studio HD, right? The HyperDeck Studio Mini does some things that the new HyperDeck doesn't do. The new HyperDeck is mainly just a recorder. It doesn't have a headphone jack, doesn't have the speaker. It doesn't have a B key channel coming out of the back. It just literally has video out. So the fact that you have a monitor, HDMI in the back of my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus is another plus. You can come right out of your camera, right into the HDMI input and record now, where I used to have to, and I still do, I'd have to convert HDMI to SDI into my old HyperDeck Studio to be able to use the record input, because it's SDI, because they were designed for the bigger consoles. SDI cameras, right? The bigger cameras and venues would have SDI out, not HDMI out for long runs. And the ATEMs for studios and for productions for TV stations were all SDI in and SDI out. Even the hub, the video hub, which is a switcher to change signals coming in to whatever signal you want going out, they're still all SDI in and SDI out. And many of us want to see them add HDMI. But think about it. The ATEM came out and solved the desktop solution. It was HDMI inputs. There's self-scaling. You can plug almost anything you want to into those HDMI inputs, but you can't run real long cables to a camera 30 feet, 300 feet away. That's what SDI cable was for. So I wish that the HyperDeck HD Studio HD had that single key channel out, because lots of people have bought it, watched my videos, purchased it, thinking that that would be a cheap way for them to have a fill and a key, and then to come to find out in a chat message to me. And my response is that the HD version does not have a key channel out, does not have an HDMI in, does not have headphones, does not, and the buttons are the old way. So if you're going to invest in a HyperDeck, dive into the HD Plus. Do not dive in to the HD unless you're just wanting a recorder and a playback device. If that's all you want to do, play intro videos and outro videos and record for long periods of time, you still can record on an SD card, and it'll automatically switch over to the blank SDI card next to it. And then you can take the first card out, erase it, put it back in. And when that card fills up, it'll go back again. So you could record all day long at a wedding, your camera input. But again, if you want to get a recording, you'll have to find a way to get a SDI signal in. So you're gonna have to come from your camera through a SDI to HDMI or HDMI to SDI converter to get it inside the HyperDeck. And if you want to embed audio after it comes from your camera, then you're gonna have to buy a converter that does that, because you can't input audio in any of these HyperDecks unless you input it in the SDI before. And I'm getting tired of hearing myself talk. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's do this. So let me put chat on the screen here, chat on the air. So TVJ says using key plus fill is so much better than doing a chroma key. Yes, it is. And I really stayed away from chat on the screen mainly because I'm so into the HyperDeck ability to do fill and key on the screen. If you have transparency, then it's just not going to display right, because I don't have the ability to do fill and key with my chat pop-up, because I'm only displaying my desktop. That transparency is built into the plugin. What Aaron did is build it with no background, but that background cutout in a key really helps things to display on the screen. And then, well, Follow up, I wish the ATEM Mini had SDI connectors. I would buy one tomorrow for several of things I do. So I wish the ATEM Mini had SDI. Yeah, the ATEM Mini is not really designed to do what those other consoles are going to do. And even though people say that Blackmagic Design is going to probably come out with a different rack mountable ATEM, we'll see, because those bigger switches are designed for productions with long runs to monitors. Like if you're a church venue or a big concert venue and you want to run your HyperDeck throughout the building, you want to send an SDI signal and split it to a bunch of monitors. The last thing in the world is you want HDMI to go out to all those monitors out of HyperDeck. So the HyperDecks will probably always have an SDI out and always have an SDI in. They've added HDMI in to make it more convenient for us on a desktop to run a short HDMI from our camera into our HyperDeck and record at a higher quality, because I can record at ProRes HQ right now if I wanted to from this camera, only in my HyperDeck. I can record off the air HyperDeck High, which is a higher end codec H.264 than what I'm streaming at right now, because I'm streaming at high. But HyperDeck High is even bigger files, more information on the screen, and I can do that. But how cool would it be to be able to just record what you wanted to from your camera at ProRes HQ? And that's what you can do now with the new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, just by plugging in your HDMI cable in the back. Again, there's limits, and you got to buy a 4K HyperDeck if you want to record at 60 frames per second 4K. But this HyperDeck will record 60 frames per second 4K, 30 frames per second 4K, but it will not record 60 frames per second 4K unless I get the 4K version of the HyperDeck. Okay, number 5, DaVinci Resolve not having the Apple ProRes codec. That's crazy. The HyperDeck has all the codecs in it. H.264, the higher end HyperDecks have H.265, which is a higher end H.264 codec. More information, bigger files, better quality if you're going to edit in it. A really good compression when you add H.265. So when you get the nicer 4K HyperDeck, it's going to be in there. The bigger HyperDecks are in there. They have a better dial. But right now, I think the HyperDeck HD Plus is a great device. I just wish that when I'm using DaVinci Resolve, or I have a client that's using DaVinci Resolve, the free version, or I think even the paid version, I do not think they have any Apple ProRes codecs unless you have a Mac and you download the Mac version. Then you get Apple ProRes, obviously, because that's a codec designed for MOV files for basically Macintosh. So if you're editing in a PC in Adobe Premiere, you can edit in both codecs, but you cannot render. So far, I haven't been able to find out a way to render a alpha channel graphic video from After Effects in any kind of codec that will play in my HyperDeck. I may have missed one, so don't think that there might not be one. I just wish that I could just do the same thing I always do, and that would be render a pre-multiplied alpha channel graphic in DaVinci Resolve and just do Apple ProRes like I do all the time. And even when I'm using them PC, I render ProRes 444 with an alpha channel. And when you render a file that you want to have an alpha channel, you have to choose rendering with an alpha channel, and then you got to go down and turn on alpha channel if it's not enabled when you're rendering a file. So DaVinci Resolve, I wish it had the codecs that I'm comfortable with for both PC and Mac, and it doesn't offer Apple codecs. It does offer some QuickTime codecs, but they're not the same as Apple QuickTime codecs. So again, record and play, faster switching, codec issue in general when you're trying to play a file. They all have to be in the same codec, and lots of people struggle with that. And also now you have to enable that codec inside your device to have those cool new features, the headphone output, the dials being changed, the HDMI in. There's so much I love. The little speaker, I love the device, don't get me wrong, and there's just some things I'd like to recommend that Blackmagic do just to take it to the next notch. DaVinci Resolve having that codec. The HyperDeck HD should have a key channel. I don't know why they didn't put that in there. It's only $495. So if you want to buy a short little deck, go back and buy the old HyperDeck Studio Mini. do not buy the new HyperDeck Studio HD unless you only want to record full frame videos or full frame recording. Obviously, you could still do like what I'm doing right now and send a pre-multiplied graphic to the screen, but it will not have a key channel. It would just be a video playing on the screen, and that's what you would see. Let me clear this chat. Sorry about that. So, okay, Freddie says, when put the chat on and off the screen, where do you do that? So let me show you, Freddie. So I just tapped on my Wacom tablet because it's a pen tablet. Let me go to camera 3 here again. Switch. Turn this off. Switch to input 3. So right here, Freddie, if I want it on the screen, all I have to do is tap. I pop this chat out and brought it onto this screen. So I drug it over here, just like when you have multiple screens in your office, wherever it's at, you can drag something from one screen to the other. So I can drag it down here, make it full screen. And then everything I tap on here, here's TVJ's comment. It would display on the screen if I had that channel enabled, and it's not enabled. Chat is off right now. Now I can turn chat on the air, but it's not going to display because I'm using the same input in my ATEM. So I have to bring it back to channel 2. I have to turn chat on the air, and then I've got to tap on TVJ's comment here. I do a lot of sporting events, so we always have long runs. So yeah, long runs, HyperDecks are a great tool. Does the HyperDeck support recording to USB hard drives? Yes, it does, but it has to be SSD drives like this. So you can buy a 2 terabyte. There's a whole list of what's supported. This isn't even the support list. This one right here is a little over 1,000 megabytes a second. The newer ones, they just came out, ScanDisk. This is a 1 terabyte that I bought, a client bought for me that I do all their work on. This is actually 1,400 megabytes a second. So these are fast enough to do high def. 4K would be a whole nother story. Again, the HyperDeck can record onto a disk, but you got to make sure if you're going to record in those higher codecs that you go to Blackmagic's site and you get the right drives, because I'm not recording 4K, and I have recorded 4K from my Canon 5D Mark IV, my clean 422 out, again, and my EOS R, which will do 4K at 30 frames per second. I have recorded that on my HyperDeck before on one of these SD drives. So it will do 30 frames per second. I didn't have any glitches, and this one is only 1,050 megabytes a second. I'm sure this would be a lot better for 4K and maybe even handle 4K 60 on like a HyperDeck Studio HD 4K. So again, USB-C out, and you could record to one of those decks. It still only has one USB-C out, and the newer HyperDecks, also a feature we'll end with tonight, has a webcam out. So you literally could have a HyperDeck, bring an image in and play video into Zoom or into meetings. You would just have to choose that OBS. You would choose that deck as your input device and hit play. And you could put a video on the screen while you're on the screen in OBS. You could do that in vMix, because the HyperDeck HD Plus and up, including the little HyperDeck HD, you can input a video camera and play it through it as a webcam, right? So you don't need a cam link anymore. But you do have to, again, my complaint is it doesn't switch fast. So let's say I didn't use my cam link. I had this camera, which I do. I have this camera coming in to my HyperDeck HD Plus. I could then come out of the USB-C into a laptop or a Mac or a PC, and I could use it as a webcam. So this camera going in to the HDMI input in the back of my HyperDeck through the USB-C port, it will see, the software will see it as a webcam. So again, keep that in mind. So if it switched really quick, then I could go from my image to play mode and instantaneously play a video. And then when the video was done, switch back and I would be on the screen. And I think it's another solution that they could use to another selling point. But because they didn't put that device in there, that quick transition, then I wouldn't recommend the switch between camera mode and and playback mode, because it takes 2 or 3 seconds for that to switch. Where in the ATEMs, it's instantaneous because they have a high-end chip in there, switching from camera 1 to camera 2, and they even have the transition feature built in, and that's great. So it is 1/4 after. We've been together now almost for an hour. I think I got on the air just a little bit after 1/4 after. So looking at the hours on the chat here. Any other questions or comments about the HyperDeck tonight before we roll out? Again, I thank you guys so much for joining me and being a part of the live streams, both the main show and the post show. And again, want to do more things I'm passionate about and share some of the things that reboot me and reinvigorate me here in the post show than I do on the live show. So love to see if you guys have any more comments. If you've enjoyed tonight's live stream, please hit like. If you know of anybody else that you think these would be good videos, let them know. Get them to subscribe to the channel. Let's keep the channel growing. I am going to get some uploaded videos on the channel. I know I've been focusing a lot on live streaming, 2 videos every Tuesday, but I do have a series on displaying chat on your screen, and I'm in the middle of recording that. It's almost halfway done. Hopefully, without the family memorial and people coming into town, I'll be able to get that done here real quickly. So, okay. Force Online's here. Thanks for popping in, Doug. Put you on the screen. Just time for the end. Late joining from the beach. Hey, Keith. Hey, I'm glad you joined it all. That is awesome. Freddie says, fantastic show, as always. So, again, guys, if you go back, the first show tonight, live stream, we talked about the rig I was able to be invited to put together here at a local venue. My parents' church, they have been a part of for years. My dad's moved away now. My mom is in heaven. And so, but I'm still in relationships with people there. And I was able to go and be invited to put this rig together. That's in the live show. And then Rudy was in the beginning of this show. He's one of my characters. And I kind of told the backstory in Toledo, Ohio. And anyway, got common ground tonight with TVJ, who is working and living in Toledo, Ohio. So it's great to know that we have that in common. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you don't have any more questions tonight or comments or feedback on the HyperDeck, that's my 5 things, both positive and negatives. There's lots more, but that's all we have time for this Tuesday in the HyperDeck. So I continue to learn. I'm continuing to figure things out. I even made a mistake at the end of the live show because I did not change discs. So I was playing our behind the scenes video in the venue this week with the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K Pro. And so I had to switch discs real quickly and re-roll my outro reel. So I'm still learning to use my HyperDecks. As much as I know about them, I still make mistakes in live streams all the time. And I'm sure if you are broadcasting TVJ, you have had some glitches as well. And you can't get away with it in broadcasting as much as you probably can get away with it in a live stream. But we should seek out whatever we can in perfection when we can. And that's just practice. Practice, they say, makes perfect. So again, I hope I made you smile tonight. Rudy says, thank you. So go back and watch that little skit I did with Rudy if you missed it and just joined the live tonight. So again, thank you so much. I'll have more links and stuff in the notes later tonight, even information on all of those items in the build from earlier tonight in the live show. And really no links tonight for Rudy, ventriloquism, but there will be some links in this video later on and some markers if you want to go back and just watch the Rudy skit. There'll be chapter markers in these videos later as I have time in the next couple days to put those chapter markers in. So thanks again, guys, so much for joining me live. And again, thank you for your comments, your questions, your responses. I appreciate it very, very much. So off to have some dinner, water and coffee tonight during the live stream. And I am ready to call it a night. But again, thank you so much. Again, remember to reboot your life, reboot your heart, find those things that make you smile, hang out with a friend, have coffee, find a way to laugh. maybe let those little kids, like my grandkids used to maul Rudy and my other puppets, maybe you need to let them maul you a little bit so that it puts a grin and a smile on your face. So, okay, well, Freddie says this, so we will end tonight with that comment. Let me get it on the screen. Freddie says, have a great night, everyone. And he also said, thanks. And so I appreciate that very much, Freddie. And then I hit the clear button, Freddie, on the screen, and that takes the chat down. And anytime I hit a chat message, it pops up. And once you've displayed them, they go gray. So awesome. Well, thank you guys. And I will see you next week on Tuesday. I may have another friend here in the post show. You never know. You might meet Benjamin C. Bear for the very first time. And I may even start repairing Rudy this week and try to repair the holes in his body from whatever was chewing on him when he was in the case and all put away. That's very curious to me. So thank you guys so much. That's it for me tonight. I will see you again very soon. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios, and I will see you again in the next video. Later.